When did your disability save your life? When I was 14, my parents went out for their anniversary dinner and left me home to babysit my 6-year-old sister Jenna. I've been in a wheelchair my whole life because of spina bifida, but I'm pretty independent and my parents trusted me to handle things for a few hours. Jenna and I were watching Disney movies in the living room when I heard something that made my blood run cold, the sound of our back door sliding open. I immediately muted the TV and listened. I heard a couple sets of heavy footsteps that were definitely not our parents. And then I heard a man's voice whisper, "Check upstairs first." My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I grabbed Jenna and whispered, "We need to hide right now." But she started crying, asking what was wrong, and I had to cover her mouth with my hand. The problem was, there was nowhere to go. My wheelchair wouldn't fit in any of the downstairs closets. We were trapped in the living room, and I could hear them moving through our house, getting closer. I was about to tell Jenna to run to our neighbor's house, hoping that she'd be able to make it out even if I couldn't. But that's when I heard them say, "We know someone's here." We saw the lights on and heard the TV. I knew then it was too late to try to escape. I was trying to think of what to do when Jenna started crying louder. One of the men heard her and said, "Sounds like a kid. This just got easier." They came into the living room. It was 3 guys wearing dark clothes and gloves. The biggest one saw me in my wheelchair and actually started laughing. "Are you serious?" he said. "A crippled babysitter?" The other 2 started laughing too. "This is like some kind of sick joke. She can't even run away. Should we check if her leg's still open?" I was shaking, but trying to stay calm for Jenna, who was sobbing behind me. One of them started walking toward us, and I said, "Please, just take whatever you want and leave. We won't call the police." But the big one shook his head. "Can't do that, sweetie. You've seen our faces, and we can't have you wheeling around telling people about us." The way he said it made my stomach drop. These weren't just burglars. They weren't planning to let us go. And from the way he was already reaching for his belt buckle, I knew they were going to make sure me and Jenna's last moments were horrific. And I was not about to let that be the last thing she remembered. I looked around desperately for anything that would save us, and that's when I saw my TENS unit on the coffee table. It's this small machine that uses a weak electrical charge to help with muscle spasms I get in my legs. I grabbed it and held it up like a weapon. I quickly turned it on, and the electrical buzzing sound filled the room. All 3 of them stopped what they were doing and stared at me. I held up the electrode wires so they could see them clearly and said in the most confident voice I could manage, "This is a military-grade electrical stimulator." I lied. It puts out 50,000 volts of electricity. My father is Black Ops, and he left it here just in case we needed protection. I had no idea what Black Ops even meant, but I cranked up the intensity so the buzzing got louder. It still wouldn't hurt a fly, but it sounds scary. Which one of you wants to find out what that feels like first? The 3 men went completely silent. The big one said, "You know we got guns, right?" I said, "If you kill me, I drop this. And if I drop this, everyone in this room is fried to bits." One of the guys said to the other one, "Is that like a taser?" And I said, "I'll tell you what it is. It's the last thing you're going to see before you die if you don't get out of here before I count to 3. 1. I moved the TENS unit toward them, and the electrical buzzing echoed through the room. They didn't wait for 3. They bolted for the back door, stumbling over each other to get out. I heard their car doors slamming and tires screeching as they sped away. I sat there for a full minute, still holding my TENS unit before I finally turned it off. Jenna was still crying, but she hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "Mimi, you saved us," she whispered. I called the police, and they caught all 3 men 2 days later trying to break into another house across town. Turns out they were part of a burglary ring that had been targeting homes with kids, figuring they'd be easier victims. The officer who took my statement said, "That was incredibly brave and smart." But honestly, I don't know if it was brave or if I was just desperate enough that I had nothing to lose. All I knew was that I had to protect my little sister, and being in a wheelchair was not going to be what stopped me. In fact, it's why we survived.